Good evening. I'm Dr. Anthony Jackson. I'm the superintendent of Nash-Rocky Mountain Schools, and I want to take this opportunity and welcome all of you to our very first community conversation via Google Hangout. And we're testing this out, so it's an opportunity for us to use the technology, but also to reach more people in a very seamless and easy way. And so I want to thank you all for being here. We have some individuals in, we're going to call this our studio, with us, and we're very relaxed, and we want to just open up with a conversation. This is an innovative use of technology, so it's going to allow us to share and communicate with you wherever you're located. This form of engagement is a way for us to really focus in on our strategic priority number 6, and that is to engage and connect with the community. We know that we cannot do the work that we do every day with students and in all of our schools and with all the moving pieces that we have without engaging our community, without having these sometimes very candid and open conversations about those things that we're doing well, about those things we can improve on, and really to have sometimes those hard conversations about what we're not doing well. So today, I'm glad you're here. I want to take the opportunity and introduce those individuals with us. And we have with us right here to my left, I'm going to start here with Mrs. Jenny Moorbutter. She is the Executive Director of the United Way here. We have Ms. Angie Dorbick, who is our Teacher of the Year this year, and a teacher at Winstead Avenue. We have Mr. Matt Edwards, who's a parent of a student at Nash Central Middle School, and we have his daughter Alexandria Edwards there, and she's going to keep him straight, and he's going to make sure he asks all the right questions. And we have Miss Gloria Silver. And Ms. Silver is also a parent at Nash Central Middle School, and she's here with her daughter, Amber Silver. And so we're just happy to have everybody here. And so we want to thank you all for agreeing to participate. We're first going to start out with a question from our studio audience. Our online viewers can ask questions throughout the question and answer feature of the Hangout. So the questions will be aired live and on the air. So let's get started. So we'll take someone from here first, and then we'll get some from offline. So, and if I don't know the answer, maybe somebody else can jump right in and maybe even share their experiences, because this is about just the dialogue and the exchange. So if we have some questions right here, we'll start there. So,
can you explain the process for inclement weather days and makeup days?
Inclement weather days. Okay. Well, the inclement weather, obviously, when we have to make decisions anytime it is unsafe to get students to or from school. If we're in school and we see that there's bad weather coming, we have to make the decision whether it's safer to keep students at school or if it's safer to go ahead and get them home. And if we know that weather is coming prior to school opening, we have to decide whether it's going to be safe to get school open. We have a lot of people who participate in that decision. And so we get together, and sometimes we have a conference call where everybody calls into a line because you can't wait for everybody to travel and get somewhere. So we'll have a conference call and we'll assess the weather report. We have people who will go out and drive the roads to give us an actual picture of that. They take pictures of different places. Our county is so big, so it could be pretty treacherous in one side and dry on the other. And so we bring all of that data back together. We look at all of the impacts, but most importantly, we ask the question, can we safely transport children from home to school or from school home? And the other piece that I think people forget sometimes is, can student drivers navigate this safely? We have a lot of high school students who drive to school. We take all of that in, and then we look at what's going to be in the best interest of students and how we can keep them safe. And then we make the decision whether we will either delay the opening and try to wait for conditions maybe to improve, or if we have to close. And if we have to close, then we have to then talk about how we make up that time. So that's how we make the decision. It's a lot that goes into it. A lot of people think you just look out the window and say, oh, the weather's bad. Well, there are times when it's snowing, but we know that the conditions based on the report and the information might get better. And so we will do our very best to try to make the decision. The number one thing that goes into those decisions is safety. We thank goodness and thank God we've not lost one child. And we've not had an accident this season because we were very deliberate. And I know it was frustrating, but we've been very, very careful about those decisions.
Thank you for your service. My name's Matt. I'm Alexander's parent, daddy. But what parents have to remember, some of them say, well, the weather's not that bad outside, but the buses have got to go into subdivisions and the low-lying areas and subdivisions. They have to realize that's where the most, you got to get them in and out. Parents are like, they're inconvenient sometimes, but like you said, the safety and in these neighborhoods is where it's real bad at.
That's right. So, Mr. Edwards, I want you on that committee because I really do believe that there are lots of small pieces that go in to those decisions, and it's not as simple. But I always encourage parents to do something too. You may always exercise your executive power to be the superintendent of one. If you believe that even if we make the decision to close school, to open school, and you still believe that it's not safe for your child, I encourage you to make that decision. And there's never a time when, there's no magic to it. And it's very, very difficult. Now, there's some things that impact, I think parents also should remember too, and that's the calendar law. Because makeup days are very, very peculiar here. And the calendar law in North Carolina requires us, we cannot start school before August 25th, and we have to be done by June 11th. And we have to either get 180 days of instruction in or 1,026 hours. You have to choose one or the other. And then there has to be a certain amount of work days, a certain amount of holidays in there. And when you really go through that calendar, there's very little wiggle room. And so sometimes I encourage people not to wish for those snow days, because then we get to that place where we're talking about spring break and those times that everybody really wants. And I'll be very honest with you. I know people think that never enters into the conversation when we're deciding on that day. We're never thinking about spring break. We're thinking really about safety. And can we, honestly, I don't want to put anyone in a situation where their child will be unsafe.
Well, the perfect snowstorm is wake up Friday morning, you got snow gone on Monday morning.
Gone on Monday morning. You should be chair of that. Mr. Evans.
Dr. Jackson,
Yes.
are Saturdays ever taken into consideration when you are scheduling the makeup days? I know that recently in the news, I don't remember the county.
A neighboring county.
Yeah, okay. I know that they're making up days on Saturday, and I was just wondering if that was ever part of that conversation. And let me back up and thank you so much for making those calls early rather than later, because in listening to the news, that was also a concern of parents in our neighboring county, that they were getting the call late in the evening. And you guys are doing a great job making those calls early.
Thank you. We blew it a couple of times, and I heard about it. But
from my perspective.
well, and again, there's no perfect. We're not meteorologists, and so when that storm changes or the path changes, we have to be flexible enough to make those changes. Saturdays, we considered Saturdays, and I think people forget as well that we have hourly employees, and so if you can only do a Saturday on a week where you don't have a full 5-day week. Because if you go into Saturday, then we have to pay our hourly employees time and a half. Well, then that's costing you more money to open school when you, even if you use the money that you saved when you close school for that one day, you're going to have to spend that plus a half more, a time and a half to run school that day. And it's the law, Fair Labor Standards Act requires us to compensate those employees who, if they work, say if we were back in school for a full week and then try to have school on Saturday, well, we would have to pay time and a half for those individuals, and they've worked over their normal work week. And so we would have to be very, very careful with that. And then on top of that, I think attendance would suffer. And so we want kids to be in school. We want to maximize the time that we have them in school. And I don't know. And then our accountability model, we're judged on attendance, on the attendance rate. So to hold school on a day when we know you're probably only going to get 40 or 50% of the students in school, you're messing with your average on that when you don't have to, and you can find other ways. We considered the extended day again this year, and we got a lot of feedback from parents that was not as productive as we had hoped it would have been a year ago. We tried it, and so we had to look at some things. The good news is we were able to build into our schedule the bank time, but we went right to the edge this year. Had we missed any more time, we would be taking days off of our spring break schedule. So we went right to the edge this year. Right to the edge. And right now, if we miss another day, we're in trouble, or we'll be talking about Memorial Day. We've already extended our school year as far as we can do it. So.
I just ran 2 miles for the Nash Central Middle Cross Country team. How important is it for students to participate in sports or other extracurricular activities?
I think it's important for students to find that thing that they're passionate about and pursue it with everything they have. It's truly important. And if you're a runner, I want you to run. I want you to be the Michelangelo on the track. I want you to run as hard as you can and as often as you want to, and be the best that you can be. Just as I want that child that sings, I want her to sing and be free about it and not have any constraints about it. I believe that we have to provide opportunities for students to find their place. Not for me to find it for you. And we have to provide as many opportunities as possible. Athletics, that's one. And I'm glad my son took advantage of athletics, and he also took advantage of music. So he was a basketball player who also played the string bass. And believe it or not, the string bass, he got a scholarship that helped pay through college. He was not a music major, but he was in the orchestra and it helped pay for him to go to school and helped with those expenses. So you want to have those things that you can do for the rest of your life. And I encourage people to find that thing that they're pleased with, they're happy with, that really just makes their insides smile. And if it's running, run until you burst. If it's singing, do it. If it's cooking, and we have all of those things. We want you to take advantage of that because as I've grown older, I've really realized a few things. I've really gone to. We've all been to those social events where we're sitting around and we're talking. I've really, and no matter how smart you are, I've been to places and all of a sudden they'll have a pianist playing or a violinist playing or beautiful artwork on the wall. I've yet to go to one of those social events, and people go over into a corner and say, hey, let's do an equation. Even though that's important for us to have the kind of life that we want, we have to learn to recognize and appreciate beauty and those things that really speak to our inner core. And so if athletics is that, we want to make sure that you have that opportunity. If those other things are there, let's make sure that those things are there. And I believe it's important for the school system to provide those opportunities.
Dr. Jackson, obviously, I want to start by thanking you. In my role with United Way, we've worked closely together, and thank you for your support with that. But my question is, how important do you see engagement with the community? And how do you do that so well with the school employees, with United Way, and with other community partnerships that you have? You, as a contributor to the United Way, the Nash-Rocky Public Schools is one of our top 5 contributing bodies. So you obviously are very good at mobilizing people. So tell us kind of how you do that, and also why you see that as being so important.
Sometimes I don't think we do it as well as we can. That's one of those things that you want to keep working at. I just think we have tremendous people who have giving hearts, who work for us and with us. I recognize fully that we can't do this work in isolation. And we have to be willing to partner. We have to be willing to engage. We have to be willing to be wrong. We have to be willing to get our hands dirty. And most importantly, I think we have to be willing to step in and help one another when we need help. And I've always been a supporter of the United Way because the United Way covers just about all of the waterfront. And we want to be very open to that, because I try to explain that we are the community. We have nearly, 2,100 employees, and we are part of that community. So we're engaging with ourselves while we engage with those who don't have that connection, so that we can make a better community for our kids, a better community for those who don't have kids in our system, and most of all, I think a better community for those kids who are yet to come.
Absolutely.
So.
Further to that, one last part, what do you need back from the community that would help you do that better, whether it be nonprofits or students or parents? What do you need from us?
That's a great question, because I think we tend to, when people ask that question to schools, people tend to think of schools. We tend to think that schools are going to ask for stuff. I would honestly think that we need back from the community support, and that support comes in many different boxes. Sometimes we just need people to stand up and say schools are important. Our teachers need to hear that they're doing a good job. Our schools need to hear that parents, we messed up, but we support you. Our kids need mentors, and I'm not talking about people who dole out money. With technology, you can be a e-mentor, where you just, through the teacher, you can send that child an encouraging note. That's all they need. Some kids will open that and say, wow, Ms. Dorvick was thinking about me. We've got to build a culture where we recognize that home is not just those walls that we live in, that the community reflects our home. And so I want us all to kind of grab this piece of our community and say, if everybody just grabs a piece of property and say, this is mine, I'm going to take care of every kid that walks through this space, we would take care of all of them somehow, some way. And so I'm encouraged that we can find people who are just willing to invest and support. The tangible stuff is nice, but also the emotional support that our teachers need, because it's tough right now. It's tough. They need to hear that, what? We recognize that all of this stuff is going on, but thank you for taking care of our children. Thank you for making sure that they're ready for the future. And then we need to be very, very open and honest and say to our kids, you guys are the best generation yet. I can't wait for you guys to grow up. My daughter would say to me often, that's okay, Dad, I get to pick the nursing home. And that's true. And we have to remember that you guys reflect the next wave that's coming. And so we want you to have as much in your toolkit as possible, so that when you make good decisions, we get to live better lives as old folk. And we're depending on you. We need you to be the very best. And I know in my heart, you're going to be better than any generation we've had. I see it every day. And I don't believe the hype. You're not a crazy generation. You really aren't. You are a brilliant generation, because you're able to do things that we were not able to do. And we've got to stop thinking that when they turn 18, they're finished products. They're not. They're not. I want us, the adults around this circle, I want us to think about when we were 18, we weren't that hot. And so I need you to understand that you're going to continue to grow and be comfortable failing, fail forward, because that's the only way you're going to get better. And we've got to give them the space to do that and stop expecting them to be perfect. And so I'm encouraged by the generation that's here right now, what they do every day.
Dr. Jackson, I'm pleased to be invited along with you and several other people to go to Raleigh for the statewide celebration of 175 years of North Carolina Public Schools. And I'm just curious if you could share that concept and the process and what exactly is going to be happening.
I get the joy of serving on the executive board for the North Carolina Association of School Administrators. And I was amazed. This year's the 175th anniversary of public schools in the state of North Carolina. The first school opened in Rockingham County. And so there was going to be this huge celebration in Rockingham County. And then we realized, but that's really, we want to have it in a central part of the state where everybody can come. And so I believe this week, Thursday night, there will be a huge celebration at the North Carolina School Administrators Association conference in Raleigh Thursday evening, where we will have representatives from every school system from across the state to celebrate the 175th anniversary of public education in this state. And I think it's going to be a great event where we just get to celebrate where we're still not perfect, but public schools were designed and built so that we can educate the citizenry so that the next generation will be better than the previous generation. And I really think that every year we get better. Every year, thanks to great teachers like you. I come into your classroom, I know what you do. I know just how out of the box you can be. And so that next generation is going to be great because of you. And so the celebration, and that's why you're invited, because it's a celebration of excellent teachers. It's the celebration of excellent schools. It's the celebration of excellent community support. And so I think that's what we're going to be doing. And so I'm glad you're going to be there. And I hope that when we get there, it'll be this beautiful mosaic from across this state, just saying that public education and public schools in particular matter. That's what that whole celebration is about.
And to go along with that, I just want to add that a teacher shared with me what a parent said, that he just put his hands on the table and said, God bless America, that all of these students
That's right.
get to come to school and they all get to eat and they all get taken care of. And so it's so important just every single day.
We're one of the few countries still where every kid, and you've heard me say all means all.
All means all.
I really do believe that we don't get to pick and choose the kids that get our best. And there are people who are very comfortable, their countries, whole societies that are comfortable with that, saying that because of your zip code, you get our best. Because your dad's a good looking guy, you get a good education. That's not how we are in the United States and in America. We believe that all kids are entitled to a good, high quality public education. And we want to provide that. It'll never be perfect, but I promise you, our kids are doing great things. They're doing great things every single day.
Dr. Jackson, I hate to go this way, but the report card just come out for Nash-Rocky Mountain schools, and we didn't fare very well. What's in the plans to sort of bring us up to higher standards?
I think, first of all, we've got to let's speak to what that report card really says. And while I believe that it's important for us to test kids, that report card speaks to our students' performance on one day. That's it. And I use the analogy, and I think I was speaking to a group the other day. I used the analogy that was somewhat like this. For the adults around to say, we work somewhere. What if we decided that your month's pay is going to be based on what you do on Thursday the 15th?
And that's I agree with that.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I agree that you can't base it on just one test grade.
Right.
You've got to look at the whole spectrum.
Right.
Because everybody in this room has a bad day.
That's right.
And you probably test me on my bad day.
That's right. And that's the piece that we've tried to say. We embrace the fact that our kids have to do better on the state test. But we also know that we take kids in who are here and we move them all the way here. And this system gives no credit for growth. I see Ms. Dorvick nodding because she takes kids who come with language barriers on any given day. And they come and they may absolutely know English. And by the end of the year, they're speaking fluent English with their peers, or they're able to read and pass that test, but they may not be able to pass. Enough of them may not be able to pass. But we say that those kids have made far more growth than the kids who were there, who gotten a 3 every year and they get a 3 again. And maybe they didn't grow as much as they could have. So what are we doing? I think we're providing I think people have to remember we have completely re-engineered education in this state. We have new curriculum, we have new assessments, We have new teaching tools and expectations. And so the piece that we are working on right now is giving our teachers the comfort. They have to learn this. In the midst of all of that, we threw a new test at them, and now this whole new grading period. So they've not had a chance to get their arms around it. They're still trying to get their arms around the new curriculum. And now the state is in the process now of changing the curriculum again. So as our teachers are getting comfortable with this new curriculum, we're changing again. I believe we're going to fare better because our teachers are becoming more comfortable with the content. I believe we're going to fare better because I think the legislature has seen the wisdom of including growth in the formula, and we believe that there are going to be changes to that formula.
In your opinion, do you think there's too much emphasis put on the state grading?
You want me to really answer that? Absolutely. And I'll tell you why. I think education is a very personal and individual exercise, because that grade on that school isn't going to matter to her. What she does matters. Her grades matter. That's right. Her growth matters. Her grades matter over time. You want to know how your child is doing. And so that becomes just a distractor in my mind. I'm going to be very candid with you. It's important that all kids grow. And if I could guarantee, if you held me accountable for every single child growing every year, you see, because it's really funny. We've got so many mismatched situations here. We put that grade up and we say every child, we want every kid to school to get an A, B, and C. Guess how we evaluate teachers? Not on the number of kids who score proficient, which is what that grade is based on. We evaluate teachers on how many kids grow. So we've got to, and part of it is we've re-engineered and we've just not worked all the kinks out. And so we're executing a system, we're flying a plane and we're putting a wing on while it's in the air. It's going to work itself out and we'll be right back to the account. If you remember back to the ABC system, when it started, it was flawed too. And we finally got it to a place where everybody understood it. They knew what it was. They knew what to expect. Our teachers were comfortable with it. And we started moving forward very quickly. That's what's going to happen now. Our teachers in the Nash-Rocky Mountain system have demonstrated over and over and over again. If you give us time to figure it out, we will figure it out. So,
thank you.
Yeah.
And as you said, that each child is individual. They have their own needs and their own, how are you smart? Everybody's smart in some way. And so it's just the whole child.
That's
and
right.
That child needs to grow and be nurtured. And we have standardized tests, but we do not have standardized children.
That's right.
And
That's a great way to say it, Angie.
And I really appreciate the thought of growth being more important. And I also appreciate the letter and the buttons and everything that said more than just a number, because it's just not about just numbers.
Well, I had a parent walk up to me the other night at All County Band. And the parent said, "How do you grade that?"
Exactly.
Why don't we do the grade tonight? And that caught me off guard because I was like, wow, you're right.
And how do you grade a child
That's
that
right.
meets someone from another country and learns more about the world, or reads books and raises money for Heifer International or
That's
Read
right.
to Feed, and how they grow personally and individually? You can't put a number on that.
That's right. And so that's what we're talking about. We're not ignoring the fact that they have to do better on this. And I think sometimes people say, well, you want to avoid accountability. That's not what we're saying. We're just saying, let's be fair in what we measure. Are we measuring the right things? That's the question I continue to ask. I continue to ask over and over again. So that's great. The whole more than a test score notion is test scores are important, but so are these other things. I was at the Quiz Bowl this morning. How do you grade that? Right. I saw the kids on Friday on Digital Learning Day teaching senior citizens how to program. Grade that. You know, we've got our orchestras and band. They went to competition for the first time and played full orchestra and got a superior rating, which is the first time ever in the history of our school system. Grade that. And so I'm saying, let's talk about all of those things that make this whole experience that we call school or schooling Let's make all of those things valuable. Let's make them equally valuable. So that's how we go. We are another opportunity that the school board just last night endorsed the something and here middle schoolers that are here. We're going to be changing this whole notion of valedictorian and salutatorian. Right now, you go into high school and we pick one winner, valedictorian, salutatorian, when they become seniors. The board has now endorsed this whole notion of the Latin honor system, where we will now have magna cum laude, summa cum laude, and cum laude graduates. Because I was a high school principal, I would have students who have a 5.999999992 and somebody who has a 5.9999993. And we pick winners and losers based on that. These kids have worked very, very hard. And so we're doing just like the universities will do now, and there will be a range. And so starting with the 9th grade class that goes in next year, they will go. We didn't want to change it because kids who are already in high school, they've picked courses trying to be number one, and they've done all the stuff. So now we're saying, you guys who are in 7th and 8th grade, or 8th graders now, when you go into high school, you'll go through, and if this means that more kids will fight to be at the top, in that top tier, and we can recognize all of those kids, because I've had as many as 6 or 7 kids tie for the valedictorian spot, and you have to go out 5, 6, 7, 8 places on the decimal to decide who gets the ring, when all of them were outstanding students anyway. And so that's something that I think the board, what are your thoughts on that?
It sounds great.
I
I
do
think it
too.
sounds
Yeah,
wonderful.
Absolutely.
I mean,
I think it's an excellent
that
idea.
one that had the point 999.3 and the 9.2, you can't pick between that.
You can't.
Right.
You can't.
And to make that child feel second,
Yeah.
Right.
it somehow, to me, doesn't feel right.
Exactly.
It just doesn't feel right. So, Jen, you were going to.
I was just going to ask you another question.
Go.
I had the pleasure of being at Baskerville Elementary School
Great
about a
school.
week ago, and I had a ball meeting with a 5th grade class. And I was amazed they pull out their iPads and they are researching. We were talking about different topics, and I was giving them topics they could research, and they're researching and giving it back to me. It was incredible to see the use of technology. So my question to you is, what's the state of technology in the Nash-Rocky Mount Public Schools? Obviously, a lot of focus has been put on it, and kudos to you and the school system for that.
I really think that there's no secret that I honestly believe that technology is the equalizer for kids. It provides access, and it provides opportunities for kids to learn anytime, anywhere, and learn information that no one teacher in a room can ever hold. And it gives a teacher a tool to expand the horizons beyond anything. I want to say, first of all, technology will never replace a good teacher. Technology in the hands of a good teacher is an amazing tool. Technology in the hands of a bad teacher is an amazingly bad tool.
He'll make that
right.
teacher much more effective.
That's right. That's right. And so what we say, and what I've said to everyone, is it's never about the device. It's about the instruction. And so we have been a district that has embraced the challenge of blazing the trail because we're out there. We have been a leader in the movement to what we call one-to-one, 24/7, anytime learning. See, what we're doing is we're challenging this notion that learning can only take place in a classroom, and that the only person who can own the learning is the adult standing at the front of the room. Well, this is the pass back generation. We've got Generation X, Generation Y. You know what the pass back generation is? Most of us as parents, we've had these cell phones that have been computers forever. And as soon as our kids start talking, we pass it back. And they've been on them since the day they started riding in the cars. And that's right. And they recognize they're intuitive with technology. And so we can't expect that they're going to come to school and power down. They're not going to do it. And so we've had to really embrace this notion of changing the behavior of our teachers, helping them recognize that kids learn differently. And so we went into this and we put in the hands of every 4th through 12th grader a device. And we've had our bumps. I mean, let's be honest. The first year, and what people forget is we're just not even 24 months in yet into this. But the first year we had a pilot. The first, second year, within 6 months, the network crashed because we accounted for all of the devices we put out there. But guess what we didn't account for? All of these devices in their pockets, cell phones and all that stuff pinging on us. So we had to completely reconfigure everything. We had to go through this process of finding the right digital resources, the right ones. There are a lot of digital resources out there. But if you really want to see how hard it is to pick, go to the App Store and try to pick something. When you get there and you see 20 things and you go, and you got to scroll through, it takes a while. And so that's been a part of the evolution. But we've become a model for a lot of districts. In fact, on April 21st, the Department of Public Instruction will be in Nash-Rocky Mount. They're bringing 25, 30 state officials here to look at what we're doing here because they have determined that we're one of the pioneers in this work. And so they want to, it's a study tour and they're going to spend the day. We had to pick one school and we did. And so we picked Cooper's. And so they're going to spend the day at Cooper's and they're going to be there and they're going to go in classrooms. They're going to talk with board members because there's a lot that go into it. You've got the infrastructure. How does it work? There's a lot that's going on. You may see these trucks. You may be seeing trucks around town digging these holes right up along the side of the road. They're right here on that. They've been all over the county. We're putting in fiber now. That's going to make our network 110 times faster than it was, and it's going to be more reliable. We're also going to be looking at ways that we can get internet out to those places. We still have some small pockets where we can get internet in the county. We want to try to help make that happen. Then you've got the device. What device is the right device? The board is struggling right now with, should all kids continue to take them home? Should the 4th and 5th grade kids, are they responsible enough to take them home and bring them back, those iPads? We haven't had as much breakage as we thought we would. So we haven't had the theft that people predicted, very small. We have had a lot of problems with those blasted chargers. And we now have a fix for the charger. And we share that. So now we've been able, but that's part of the evolution and it's frustrating, but isn't it about problem solving? Isn't that what we do every day anyway? And so the next piece of that then is we've got a strong professional development arm trying to help our teachers understand how to use this tool, why it's good, and free them up to mess up. And then more importantly, I think we've got to give kids the opportunity to explore and communicate and create and collaborate and critically think. That's why we're teaching our youngsters how to code, how to create their own computer games and things like that. So it's all over the place. It's huge. It's a challenge, but I think we've got the right professionals who have the right disposition and the right attitudes about making it happen. And we're making it happen because it's about the next generation. It's not about us. It's about the next generation. So we'll do well with that. I would be real interested to hear from parents about kids, the whole technology thing from your perspective, because we see it as what we plan, but what are your thoughts and what can we do differently? What can we do better? Should they be bringing them home? Do they use them? What's your thinking?
I think they should bring them home. I mean, because if you're going to do that, you got to do it for all students. And some students are going to go home and not have them.
That's right.
So if you're going to send them home, let everybody have them.
Okay.
You may want to look into like the ones who don't have them, let them carry them home, and the ones who do have access to stuff at home, opt out to not take them home.
Mm-hmm.
But make sure that everybody has access to take them home, because don't they going to miss out?
Right.
I'm finding that my children spend a lot of time on our devices at home. I mean, they only use their school devices for their school work. But the funny thing about the technology is they have a world of information at their fingertips. they'll continue to ask mom how to spell something and what this means or what that means. And so it surprises me. And she and my son joke about this because they're so used to that technology. So they don't go out and look like I do when I want to know something. And they're like, Mom, these things are for fun. We shouldn't have to learn on them is what I'm hearing.
That's right. That's right.
We shouldn't have to learn all the time on them. But I think that as far as the device goes, it's working great. We've had some issues with the charging.
Yeah.
It completely staying charged because she charges it at night.
Right.
And I won't allow her to take the charger to school because I don't want it
Right.
missing, misplaced. But other than that, I think everything's going great with it.
Yeah.
Is there any thought into will we stay with iPad and the MacBooks or
At the middle school, that the board just really made a decision last night about that, and we've committed to finding the resources to get everybody in sixth grade, because it's just a sixth grade where we have that split. All the sixth graders next year, our goal is to have them in one device.
Right.
Yeah, and part of that was when we started, the number shifted a little bit based on what we had planned. We had more kids in the grade level, and so, but that's our goal, to try to make that happen in the coming year. Because I really do believe we've got to find where's that fine line. The kids are going to use the tool for work, but it's meant to be a tool that they use for leisure and pleasure. If you want to see it work, next time you're at work and you have a meeting, I want, just really stop in the middle of that meeting and just look around and see how many people are on their phone. I do scans all the time. I was in the airport recently and I just stopped, and I defy you to do it. Just walk around and look and count. Don't count the people who have them. Count the number of people, including children, who are not on a device. It's amazing how we have become such a connected generation. Now, we have a responsibility to teach ourselves. We have to remain connected with those interpersonal skills too. But as adults, we have to teach that too. And so we will, that's just part of the evolution that we're going through. But I'm going to challenge you also. I take pictures all the time now of what I call technology in real life. And I've had 3 amazing experiences in the last couple of weeks. One, the light bulb, when we had the ice storm and the lights went out, when the lights came back on, the light in my refrigerator would not come back on. So I'm looking for a light and I couldn't find it. So I turn on my light from my phone and I look in there and I can't find the light anywhere because I've forgotten, where does the illumination come from? The bottom, the top, wherever. But I look to the right and there are 4 QR codes inside the refrigerator to tell me how to change. One, to tell you how to change the bulb, how to take the door off and put it back on without getting, how to level it. I mean, there's a QR code in the refrigerator. That's the one thing. The second experience I had was, if you have one of those key fobs for your car with the push to start now, which most cars are moving to that, lose the black part of that key if you want to. I lost the black part of that key and I had to call the dealer and try to buy one. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying it was Christmas Eve. Just so happened somebody was there. The guy said, okay, we tried to start it remotely with an app. The car started, but you can't get it started because the brain of the car is in the computer. Well, the next thing I know, I called him. He came to my house with a laptop computer, plugged into my car, bought a new key, programmed the key, gave it to me and said, that'll be $250, sir. Okay?
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of things that's the world that our kids, they're going to live in that kind of world.
Yeah, when those tablets and laptops and MacBook Airs come home, parents have a responsibility to make sure that the kids are using it in the right way.
That's
because
right.
if they don't monitor it can be a bad tool. Yeah.
And we're going to try to do a better job of communicating with parents about that, because I think sometimes parents, they get they're afraid of the technology. Our generation, some of us are afraid of it because we don't want to break it. We think we're going to do something wrong. That's not going to happen. And so it's important. Our filter goes home with our students. And at any time, I always encourage parents to do one thing, if nothing else. Randomly check your child's history. They're like, oh, please no, but randomly check the history.
It's nothing for us to grab that phone. Let me see it.
That's right. That's right.
We don't announce when we're gonna do it either.
That's right. And it's important that we do that because you said it. They have access to a whole wide world out there. The third example I'm going to give you is I walked into a second grade class recently, and a child was sitting in there with the Apple Watch on.
Wow.
So it's moving at a clip, and you can't stop it.
Mhm.
You're not going to be able to stop it. And so we've got to learn to embrace it and use it to our advantage. And so that's a great thing. We have a new tool that we're rolling out for parents because in a community as large as ours, there's always this notion of, I heard somebody say it. Have you heard? And it's always somebody that said something. So if you, we have a new tool that we rolled out last week. It's called Let's Talk. And Let's Talk is just a click on form where you can send a concern directly to anybody in the district. You can send it anonymously. You can send it, if you want a response, you can put your name on. But sometimes it's just, we want to get feedback from you. We want to add, you may be thinking about something, and it's not always the negative. People think we want to hear just all the negative. Trust me, we don't. But we want to hear that. But you could also commend a great teacher like Mr. Urbick, where you can say, you know what, she is amazing. And that'll come in, and what I'll do is I'll get it and I'll send it right to her. That's what I'm talking. That's the support thing. It could well be that I know that something's getting ready to happen at school, but I don't want to be, you know, they still call them a snitch. I don't want to be a snitch, right?
You never know when that positive note, she was having a bad day,
Absolutely.
a bad morning, that just turns her day around.
Absolutely. That's what we
so
do.
important for the students too, for the kids to get that acknowledgement and that validation. Just
It's beyond important, and it's really great. So we want that too. But you can ask if you have a question about curriculum, you have a question about the cafeteria, you have a question about transportation, you have a question about a decision that was made. You just send it in, and somebody will get back to you. We've kind of set a window that it'll happen within 24 hours. And so, I heard, we put on there's one click. I heard that, schools are going to be closed tomorrow. And somebody will get back to you and say, no, if schools will be open. But we're hoping that that's going to create this dialogue because quite frankly, we spend way too much time on what I call myth, the mythology of schools and communities. Sometimes things are true and we want to spend our time doing that. But then there are times when we spend a lot of time chasing down things that when we could be focused on supporting that teacher or supporting your student or making sure that they have the things that they need to do it. So it's called Let's Talk. It's a little yellow button on the front of the website. And you click on it and it's real easy to follow. I'm going to really, really encourage you to use it and encourage those who are watching to do the same. I really also want to say another thing. They're trying to wrap me up, but it's our show. So we have one of the biggest challenges we're facing right now is getting a highly qualified, high quality teacher in every single classroom. And it's becoming more and more of a challenge to do that because things have happened where we no longer have this pipeline of teachers anymore. Because as parents, we're no longer encouraging our kids to go into teaching. And I have parents all the time who call me and say, well, I don't have my child's math class doesn't have a teacher. Well, when are you going to get a teacher? And really when you look at the colleges and universities, enrollments are way down. And so
because of the salaries in this county?
We're a state, it's the salaries in the state. That's part of it. I think also, we're one of our challenges as well is class sizes. our class sizes are a little above the norm, but we've had to do that because we've had to use the resources we have to do other things and try to balance the experience for kids. But lots of things are going in. They've eliminated the teaching fellows program. And that was a wonderful program where we took kids who came out of high school. We gave them a 4-year scholarship to train to be a teacher with the commitment that they will come back and work as a teacher. Well, that program no longer exists. So we don't even have kids that we're targeting as early as high school to say be a teacher. And so things like that have gone away. Teachers no longer get paid for their master's degrees in some areas. So there's some challenges out there in terms of attracting the best people to the teaching profession. But we've got to compete in a market where those teachers who are willing to come and work for us, we've got to make it attractive for them. So our board has done a couple of things. They've agreed a hiring incentive program. And so we really want to encourage those. If you know somebody, if they're teaching math, they're teaching science or social studies, middle school in particular, elementary, and exceptional children's programs, we're having a job fair on Saturday, March 28th. Please encourage them to come and send, if they know a teacher, have the teacher refer them, and the teacher can make the referral bonus, and they can, if they're the ones that we select, they've got to meet certain criteria, then they will get a signing bonus and all of that kind of stuff. So we're trying to get a good teacher in front of every class. Right now we're about 98% full, fully staffed, but that still leaves about 1.5% of our classrooms unfilled all year. And it's primarily math teachers and science teachers. So we need your help with that. And so that's Saturday, March 28th, when that's happening. And so with that, I'm going to say thank you all for coming out tonight, and thank you all for sharing in this experience with us. We'll get some feedback and feedback about how this has gone, and hopefully it can be something that's done, and we can have different people lead the discussions. But we're using this. We use this tool now for meetings so that people don't have to drive all over town. Because in the real world, we've just had a conversation with the whole community sitting right here in this room. And that's amazing. So again, I want to thank you. I want to thank the young ladies. You guys are number one. I want to tell Mr. Spell, you guys did an awesome job, right? And so we thank you all for coming, and we appreciate it. And thank you for your continued support of the Nash-Rocky Mountain Public School System. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.